All right.
All
Well,
right, so the coach is all yours.
awesome. Looks like we're ready to get started. Coach, thank you for hopping on. We'll get right into questions for Coach Pitino, like always. We'll get started just as soon as the first one pops in the chat. Thank you. All right, Andy, start us off.
Richard, you talk all the time about wanting to get old and stay old. What have you seen from Eric Curry? What has he provided this team, just given his, overall experience?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge challenge, staying old, and a lot of things have to happen. And that is something that we fight very, very hard to try to do. And when you have a guy like Eric Curry, obviously, who's been had a lot of injuries, but he understands. I mean, he's been to 2 NCAA tournaments. He's played in pressure-packed games. He's played, in huge games in February that we needed to win. That's the biggest thing you can have in your locker room. It's hard to develop. It's getting increasingly harder with transfers, obviously losing guys back-to-back to the NBA. But that experience is invaluable, and Eric understands that. He's been a part of winning, and it's the more and more voices like him, not only just talking about it, but just their daily approach, to practice and to paying attention, and it's just they're a little bit different at his age versus when they first come in, and that's huge for your locker room.
Marcus Fuller, over to you.
My question wasn't about Eric, but it reminds me of the Purdue game in overtime when he played well as a freshman, helped you guys win. Do you feel like Mashburn is at a point now in the Big Ten where he's seen enough where, some of these games that get down the wire, you can not only rely on Marcus and Liam to make some plays, but a freshman as well?
Yeah, he doesn't look like a freshman out there. He's going to make mistakes like everybody else does, but when he's out there, there's a feeling like he feels like he belongs. He's got a confidence level to him. He's certainly good enough to be out there. So yeah, I mean, I'm not, and that takes time as a coach, to build that trust to where you feel good about getting him out there and that he's going to stay within the framework of what you're trying to do. He's going to be fearless. He's going to, he clearly wants to hit the shot. So yeah, I think he's really evolved pretty well, and even last game, as much as the foul trouble was very challenging to coach, it was probably really good for Jamal to get, that type of experience because, on different teams, he'd probably play a little bit more. But, because we've got, some guys, Marcus and Gabe, who've been in this program, taking him some time. So he's definitely an important piece of the future. And, we need him to have a big month of February.
Next question will come from Daniel House.
Hey, Richard, during Big Ten play, your team has posted 4 single game defensive metrics that rank in the elite tier, and you won all those games by double digits, including against Nebraska. How much does everything change when things are clicking on the defensive end for this team?
Well, I don't even know what that is, but it sounds good, so I'll take it. Yeah, I've said from day one with our guys, we are probably closer to being, I don't know if we're an elite level defensive team. I'm not sure we're great at anything, but I think we're closer to being a good defensive team than maybe a good offensive team. There's definitely things that we can do to improve both. But yeah, we've just had a tendency to go cold. Even that Nebraska game, like I look back and, I know I get questions about 3-point shooting, and I don't think we took that many bad ones. But you can always defend and you can always rebound. And it's been a weird year like that. We've had some great moments, but we've also had some bad ones. And so it seems like it's been consistent in the great ones. So we've played great defense.
Next, we'll go over to Chris Long.
Hey, Richard, just stemming off of Curry, have you guys, and this may be way too early, but have you even started to think about next year with the free year, him? And I think Brandon's the other guy eligible, right? I mean, have you even started thinking about if those guys might be back next year, or does that happen after the season?
Yeah, I mean, probably address it after the season. They certainly know that we'd love to have them back. I'm not sure with Eric just where his head is at, just because he's dealt with so many injuries and so on. But we'd love to have them all back. But I don't want to really dive into it just yet with them. But I do know that with both of those kids, they're great people. They're smart players. They can help the program. Hopefully the world goes back to normal where we can have fans, we can get a real experience. So we'll see. I mean, I want what's best for those guys. I like being around them. They're good people. They're about what we try to be about every single day.
Andy Grader, back to you.
Richard, you talked about how Jamal is, the point guard of the future. What do you want him to be taking from Marcus right now, currently? And have they been battling it? I know you're going probably lighter now in practice, but what have you seen in the competitiveness between the two?
I think there's a mutual respect. I mean, we go much lighter, obviously, in February. We're not necessarily competing, at certain things. I mean, we're doing obviously a lot of preparation for the opponent. But I think that, I think Marcus understands that, he needs to kind of pass the baton to Jay. I think that Jay is competitive. I think he feels like he can go against anybody. What I want them both to understand is, and, John Beilein made a really good point to me. He was talking today that, you got to be a point guard that runs the team. And even though Marcus and even though Jay can score, we need them to be point guards first. And I think Marcus, when he has great moments, obviously, he's picking people apart with his passing and doing all those things. And I think that's where Jay can certainly have some improvement. He's probably more of a scorer that can play the point. We need him to be a point guard who could score. And same with Marcus. I think both of them are somewhat similar in that regard.
Obi, we'll go over to you for the next one.
Hey, Coach, second time you're going to be facing Purdue in your last 4 games or in a 4-game stretch. What has to be the difference this time whenever you take them on, and what have you been honing in on practice heading into this rematch against them?
Well, our physicality, we didn't do a good job at defensive rebounding. We were right there, obviously. I mean, we were up 13-14 early. We were up at halftime. And then we just wore down, everything that Purdue wants to do to you from a physicality standpoint, they did to us. We gave away 30-plus points on offensive rebounds and turnovers. So, you cut down on those. I think it's a much different game. So it's easier said than done. They're the most physical team in our league. And if you're not ready, I mean, they just throw you out of the way. They're big, they're strong, they're tough. So we got to do a better job of being ready for that this time around.
Marcus, back to you.
Coach, I know we talked a lot about Mashburn, but what do you want to see out of the other guys that come off the bench? I know with Booth, his role changed a little bit with Trey starting now. Just moving forward, what do you think of Booth and Isaiah and Eric, some of those guys?
Just be ready to help the team win. I mean, nobody's role changes. It doesn't matter how much you play. Like, what can you do to help the team win? And that's with everything. It's not about scoring. It's about defending. It's about rebounding. You got to be ready. And when we sub in, there's no intent for a drop off. It's not like the NBA where you have your set starters and then your subs. Like, this is college basketball. Like, when you come in, you have got to be ready to bring value. And if you don't, you got to come out, and that's the same for the guys that start. So we've had some good performances off the bench. It's very, very important that they continue to help us because, when you get deeper and deeper, there's foul trouble. There's, the way Purdue plays, they're going to try to grind you down. So we need to have fresh bodies on the court.
Jeff Wald, over to you.
Hey, Coach, you've mentioned consistently this year that, this is nothing close to normal. So I guess what's your thoughts on, how weird is it to be playing at 4:00 on a Thursday? And then to follow that up, just your general thoughts on the Big Ten tournament being moved to Indianapolis.
Well, my wife who doesn't leave the Edina bubble too often, texted me this morning and said, wow, I can't believe there's nobody on 100. She was going to do something, drop off the dog or something. And I said, yeah, I've been dealing with that every single day. It's unbelievable. The drive in, it's just crazy. It's a ghost town. All of a sudden I get out of practice yesterday and I'm checking scores and I see Duke Notre Dame are playing at like 3:00. And so when the game time switched, I was like, great, why not? What does it matter? I mean, nobody's really going to work right now. Everybody's working from home. It's not like we're going to have, I'd be bothered by it if we had fans, but we're not going to have any fans. So it's way more of a unique year than I think anybody understands. And maybe it's because you guys don't get to come to the games. All you got to do is attend one. I know you'd love to. I'm not saying, saying you don't want to, but all you got to do is attend one to see how unique it really is. It's very unique. And I'll say to all the guys playing in college basketball, I give everybody credit for what they've, been able to do. If you're playing in this environment, you better love the game. You better love the people you're playing with, because it won't be a lot of fun any other way. As for moving the tournament, I don't know. I mean, if you had asked me in normal times, I'd rather go to Chicago or Indy. I'd rather go to Chicago, but it's not normal. So whatever's easier right now, logistically, for the better. And it sounds like it'll be easier to figure it all out. So I do know the Big Ten, everything the Big Ten is doing is for the safety and well-being of student athletes.
I haven't received any final questions for Coach, so I just want to give it a few seconds to see if there are any last asks before we let him run. Not seeing any though. So Coach, I think that's all we have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And as usual, we'll resume in just a few moments with the players. And as a reminder, today we'll have Eric Curry and Jamal Mashburn Jr. Sounds good. Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
All right, Jamal, thank you for hopping on with us today.
Of course, anytime.
We'll get right into questions as soon as the first ones roll in the chat. And with that said, it looks like we will start off with Andy Grader.
Jamal, since you've had Marcus Carr in the same locker room and on the floor together, what have you tried to take from him during your freshman year about how he goes about his business, how he plays the position, how he leads? What have you taken from Marcus?
Yeah, I've taken a lot. Obviously, we still got some time to go in the season, so I continue to learn more. But he's been great, especially on and off the floor. On the floor, just how he sees the game, how he gets others involved, his pace and aggressiveness, and just his even kill mentality. You never see him too rattled, too, shook up in the moment. He's always got it under control. So that's something that I can implement and continue to grow. So that's one thing.
Marcus Fuller, over to you.
Jamal, wondering if you could talk about the mentality of the bench. I know, some of the dynamics changed there with Booth now coming off the bench instead of Trey. But, when you and Booth and Eric, you guys come in, like, obviously, what do you try to bring?
We're just trying to bring energy, especially on the defensive end, and just help alleviate and complement those starting guys, Marcus, Gabe, and all those guys. And, just come in and just try to bring life to the team. That's what we always try to do. Be aggressive. And at least for me, I can't speak for the other guys, but we all just have the same mentality as a team. So
next, we'll go over to Mike Grimm.
Jamal, what do you take from that first matchup with Purdue? What did you learn from them? Because they do have kind of a unique style, and what do you try to implement, from that tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they're physical. They're physical, especially at their place. I know, it's a general, like they don't have really a home court advantage. There's no fans, but you have that certain level of comfort at home. So their physicality is great. They got good bigs, very big bigs. So But we'll be better prepared for that come Thursday.
Next question will come from Daniel House.
Hey, Jamal, Richard has talked about focusing on post-entry passes in practice. What do you think is the biggest key to improving in that area?
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, just continue to work on it in practice. That's what we do an offensive breakdown every practice. So just working on, the right passes and the right cuts and where to be on the court with sort of the spacing and everything, and how we want to get our buckets and stuff like that. So just continue to work on that in practice. It'll just get better over time.
Hobie, over to you.
Hey, Jamal, I mean, it's February now. It's hard to believe that we're already in this month with so little of the season to go. But do you feel, I mean, Marcus was talking about just the mentality of coming off of the bench, but now that you're so late into the season, I know it's the first year, but do you feel like things are amping up a little bit more?
I mean, yeah, for sure, especially as we get closer to, tournament time and, seedings and all that stuff. This is a crucial time, and they call it the dog days of the season, these January, February period. So, I'm getting a good taste of that, but I think we've been handling it well. I mean, we obviously are going through some adversity, and we have been, but, it's all about how you bounce back. So it'll all make us better at the end of the day.
Andy, back to you.
Jamal, you got 29 minutes against Nebraska, the most you've played in a game this year. What did you take from all that court time earlier this week?
I'm just taking it with stride. Just whatever time I get out there, just making the most of it. Playing hard on both sides of the floor, and just trusting all the work I put in, and just letting it flow, just playing free.
Marcus Fuller, back to you.
I know that you play a lot of backup point, but there are times when you and Marcus are on the court at the same time. Obviously that shifts your role maybe a little bit. If he's the off guard, you have to look to pass more, and maybe vice versa for him. What is that like when you're playing with him?
It's great playing with him. I mean, I've always been the type of guy that I'm gonna be myself regardless of where I'm playing at, regardless of what position I am. I'm a basketball player at the end of the day. You got to make basketball plays. So, I'm just always looking to attack, and he's always looking to attack. And, if somebody steps in front of him, he's kicking. But if they don't, then, we're going to get a bucket. But it's good.
Last call for any questions for Jamal before we let him run. Not seeing any in the chat. So, Jamal, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Wrap up with Eric Curry here in just a few seconds.
Here, so he'll sit down. I might adjust the table, and we'll get going.
Perfect.
Just slide it up. Oh, you look good, man. You look good. You look good.
All right, Eric, thank you for hopping on. I will get right into questions for you just as soon as the first one comes in through the chat. Thank you. Andy Grader, start us off.
Eric, as someone that's been in this program for a few years now, how are you trying to lead during these kind of dog days of the season, as Jamal and Coach call
it? So as far as the losing streak we were just on, just telling those guys, my freshman year team, we lost 5 straight to start the Big Ten. So it's like no panic. Just telling them and keeping their heads up. We're just not going to panic. It's just the best league in the country. So like things can happen. I mean, I've seen it happen, and just keep our head on straight, keep the positive energy, things like that.
Next, we'll go over to Chris Long.
Eric, I know there's a lot of basketball still to be played, but have you started thinking at all about the potential for that free year next year? And this is the time of year where our senior would start thinking about maybe winding things up and legacy and things like that. You pushing that for a ways, thinking that there might be a chance you can come back next year?
No, I haven't thought about it. I'm just living in the moment right now, just helping this team out the best way I can.
Marcus Fuller, over to you.
Eric, how have you seen a guy like Booth, who started quite a bit of the season? Now he's coming off the bench with you and Jamal. How have you seen him accept that role?
He's been well. He's not in. I don't see him moping around or anything like that. He know he's still a big part of this team. He know he's contributing in big ways. I don't think he's really worried about that at all. I think he's taken that role and embraced it really well.
Hobie, over to you for the next one.
Hey, Eric, that last game against Purdue that you guys played in, would you say that that might be the most disappointed result that you guys have had, and what needs to change this time around?
Yeah. So the big thing was we played very good basketball for 20 minutes or the first half. So we just gotta play that way for 40 minutes, and just don't let them wear us down, and just keep that tough and embrace that toughness that comes within this league and that Purdue embraces. Just match that intensity for 40 minutes, and I think we can get the job done.
Andy, back to you.
Eric, Richard was talking about kind of how you try to have your daily approach, maybe rub off on the guys. What do you try to bring, on a daily perspective as far as routines or approach, mindset?
Just I'm gonna give it all I got every time I step out there. I can assure you that these guys on this team would tell you, all of you, that it don't matter how I'm feeling, my body can be in the worst possible pain there is, and every time I step out there, I'm gonna give you all I got, and I just try to show them that, because they know I've been through a lot, and if I can show them that, I hope they can give me the same in return.
Next question will come from Jeff Wald.
Hey, Eric, I'm just curious, what in general would a win over Purdue tomorrow mean for this program? I mean, you're inching closer to an NCAA bid. You had a tough second half, like you mentioned out there the last time you played them. Just what would it mean for this team to kind of try to inch closer to locking up a bid?
It can be the start of something special. Like I said, I brought up my freshman year team that lost 5 in a row, and then we went the month of February and not lose at all. So it can be one of those type of turnaround seasons for us, and just spark something up going into the tournament time and things like that.
Andy, back to you again.
Eric, I know you're locked in on tomorrow's game. I thought I saw something somewhere that you said that you were thinking about being a coach down the road. Is that true? And what sort of things are you trying to build up right now for, if that is the next step for you?
Yeah, that's definitely the next step for me. I'm always in Coach P's ear and assistants here. I'm always in their ear trying to learn on a daily basis. So, I'm just continuing learning and just trying to make those connections with people out here now. So right now I'm not really focused on it, but yes, I definitely want to go into coaching though after this.
Sorry, my button stuck there for a second. Hobie, back to you.
Eric, you've been through a few seasons in your time at the U. Can you put into words what is different about February basketball compared to the rest of the season?
I think teams just start to figure out who they are. You get that groove is you in the second half of the season. So everybody knows what you're going to get from everybody on the team. And I think it just started to click during this time of year. I think that's all it is.
Then we'll go back to Daniel House.
Hey, Eric, how big of a challenge is the physicality that Purdue brings, and how do you match that?
Like I said, we matched it. I feel like we matched it for 20 minutes the last game. They are a physical team, but I feel like they embrace it for the whole game. We just embraced it for 20 minutes, the first half of it. And I think you just got to match there. They just try to wear you down. And I think you just got to embrace it and just fight through the fatigue and all that stuff.
Mike Grimm, over to you.
Eric, tell me about, have you talked to Tyler? I know you have his jersey hanging in your apartment. You're one of his good friends. You got a Super Bowl champion now who's one of your best pals.
Yeah, I talked to him. I talked to him yesterday, actually. He can't believe it. Just smiling as we on the phone. That's all he can do is just smile. I just called him champ. No, I'll see him this weekend. He's coming back this weekend, so I'll just catch up with him then.
And last call for any questions for Eric before we let him get out of here. Not seeing any. So Eric, thank you very much for your time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Same goes to everyone else. Thanks for hopping on today. Thanks for the great cat pre-show talk, and talk to you all tomorrow night.
Thanks. See ya.
Thanks, Alec.